Blog Talk Radio.
The maestro of wrestling, known to his children as Papa, and you're listening to The Wrestling Lounge.
This is Tyson D, the current NWA Georgia Heavyweight Champion, future NWA World Heavyweight Champion, and you're listening to The Wrestling Lounge. Hi, this is Mark Merrill, former Intercontinental Champion with the World Wrestling Entertainment, and Johnny B. Bad, three-time World Television Champion. You are listening to The Wrestling Lounge with Brian Vaughn and Harold Martin. Don't turn that down, or it's going to be a lesson to teach you a lesson.
Hello, ladies and gentlemen. I'm Brian, your host. Welcome to the Wrestling Lounge. We've been off for approximately 3 weeks, and we're back. Want to bring on my co-host this time, known around the independent scene and professional wrestling scene, professional wrestling referee, referee Radar Martin. Harold, welcome to the show.
Good afternoon, Brian. How are you?
I'm doing okay. How are you doing?
I'm doing good. I was in Florida for a while visiting family and friends and had a great time, but now it's time to come back and get things going.
All right, well, that sounds good. Before we bring Mike Sanders on, I want to give a shout out. I just found out before we went on the air, and I spoke to Priscilla Kelly, that Priscilla Kelly over the weekend wrestled none other than Tessa Blanchard at Premier Wrestling Experience.
Wow.
So I know that was quite a dream match for her indeed, and as everybody knows, Premier Wrestling Experience is one of our partnerships we have here on the Wrestling Lounge. But that's also a great company. But without any further ado, I want to bring on right now former WCW, WWE, TNA wrestling superstar, and current actor as well as a stand-up comedian, Mike Sanders.
Hey guys, what's going on, man? You guys hear me okay?
Hey,
yeah.
How are you doing, sir?
Man, I'm doing good down here in the sunny Atlanta, GA. It's freaking hot though.
Well, that's exactly where we're at too. So we're right there with you.
Yeah.
Oh, that's right. You guys are down here in Atlanta. You guys are over like near Lawrenceville or something, right?
Yeah, we're in. Yeah, you there, Harold?
Yeah. Sorry.
Okay. We're near Atlanta.
What's going on, guys? What's been happening, man?
Not too much. We've been off the air for 3 weeks. My co-host went on vacation to Florida, so he just got back in town last week. And matter of fact, he actually worked a show this past weekend with a good friend of yours, Mike, Big John Kemp. So.
Oh, I almost came, Wrestle America, man. I almost came down to that show down there. Big John has been trying to get me to come down, and because I hear it's a really good show down there in Barnesville.
Well, we'd be happy to have you there. That's for sure.
Yeah, I'm gonna get down there. When's the next show down there?
That'll be in August. I want to say. Let me look real quick.
I think it's August 16th. Is it 16th or 12th?
It's going to be on a Saturday. I do know that because they usually do a Friday show, but they're going to Saturday. So I'm looking. It might be the 15th, but I'm not quite sure. I'm going to have to get back with you on that one.
How is that? I hear the show's pretty good. You guys had Gunner from TNA down there, Mickey James, Amber. Down there, is the response down there pretty good? I mean, the show pretty good?
Well, we estimated there was probably 350 or more fans, which was a pretty good crowd for us.
Yeah, I mean that's a nice little crowd down there, man. I've wrestled in front of 30 people, so I mean, yeah.
Speaking of that, do you do any more wrestling, or are you just out of it altogether?
I'm going to tell you, man, like I've done some appearances here and there, but, I focus more on my TV and film right now than I do anything. And a lot of the corporate hosting and, stuff like that. I'm about to be 46 next week, and, not that, I'm in probably some of the best shape of my life, but, my L4 and my L5's kind of messed up, and to be totally honest, man, for what, these promotions, and don't get me wrong, like, I love the fans, and I love doing it, and that's one reason I almost came down to Wrestle America, just to, I like being around it, man. It was a huge part of my life, but, as far as jumping back in the ring, man, and going, I don't foresee me ever doing that again. So,
all right.
I just say that because I do have a messed up L4 and L5, but you got to keep your body like these guys that do that. That's why I got a lot of respect, man. When you do this every night or every week, I don't do it. I take one bump in the ring now, man. I'd be out for 2 months.
Wow.
Okay.
Go ahead. You can put me in a 6-man tag. I can come in and make the hot tag at the end. I can do that now. So,
all right.
Go ahead.
Okay. Before I get into asking you any wrestling related questions, we're talking about Big John Kep. Can you tell everybody about the big movie y'all got coming up? I believe it's Saw 3 or something like that.
Well, he's doing Big John is I think he wrote this movie called Slaw. It's I guess you could say it's considered an independent film, but unlike most independents, he's got a really good budget for this film, man. I think the budget's like $150,000 or something, which is
wow.
An indie film is really nice. And and he's the one thing about him, man, is he's Big John Kep does stay loyal. Like if you know him and he knows you, and he takes care of his people, man. And I'm really fortunate to be working with him on the film. I'm excited about it. I got a great part in the film. I don't think that film is going to come out until probably 2016. I know we're going to start shooting on it in August. But when we did the table read, I didn't really know what to expect. But I did the table read, and to be honest with you, man, it's very well written and pulled off right. It could be a really good film, So.
Where are you planning on shooting that? Do you have any? Have they given you any locations or anything for that?
Yeah, they're shooting this in Atlanta, man. He's shooting this in Atlanta. The production company and everything's in Atlanta, and you got a few actors from Louisiana coming into town. Escalante Lundy's coming into town, and it's got some wrestling names attached to it. I think Big Man Kevin Nash is going to be in it. I think Glacier's going to be in it. But the concept of the film is really good. So looking forward to shooting that in August with him. So
okay, great.
Can you tell us about your name and how it relates to the Apollo 11 astronauts?
Oh Lord, I thought you was going to ask me about the above average name. Here's what happened, man. Which is a whole story in its own self. But I was born July 20th, 1969, right? And I was born, it was right around the same time the astronauts were walking on the moon. And the nurses at the nurses station had said, you ought to think about naming your son after the first 3 astronauts that, went to the moon or stepped on the moon or whatever, which is, Michael Collins, Edwin Aldrin, and Neil Armstrong, or Edwin Buzz Aldrin and Neil Armstrong. So, my full name is Michael Edwin Neil Sanders. So I got to tell you this. I got to tell you this story, man. When I was, and this will show you, I don't know how old you guys are, okay? But
I'm older than you. I can tell you that.
Okay, so let me tell you how generation.
32.
Okay, let me tell you how the generation gap, man, changes. So I was in LA about 3 years ago, and I had to go on an audition. Okay, And in this audition, you kind of had to stand up and tell like a very exciting moment or something about yourself or an exciting moment in your life, right? And this 19 or 18 or 19-year-old girl stood up and she said, "Oh my God, you're not going to believe this. Just last week, I was walking down Hollywood and Vine, and I ran into Buzz Aldrin from Dancing with the Stars." And I was like, are you freaking kidding me? I'm like, okay. So it came my turn. I said, well, ironically, I'm named after Buzz Aldrin, the astronaut who walked on the moon. So, like this 18-year-old girl knows him as Dancing with the Stars. And it's like, gosh, what a generation gap, man. Like, come on,
Wow.
But it's it also goes back to the same thing that when I had an opportunity to work on the Have and the Have-Nots Tyler Perry show.
Right.
And, on that show, John Snyder's the lead on the show. So got a chance to meet him, man. He knows DDP really well. We talked. We hit it off. Cool, super cool guy. So I was telling my daughter, she's 20 now, but this was a couple years ago. She was only like 18 or 17 or whatever. And I said, or 18. And I said, yeah, babe. I said, I got a chance to meet John Snyder. And my daughter goes, "Oh yeah, wasn't he the dad in Superman?"
Yeah.
And I mean, and I'm thinking to myself, no. I mean, he is, but he's Bo Duke from the Dukes of Hazzard. What is wrong with his Youth of America, man? Come on. So,
yeah.
Well, that reminds me of a quick story. My daughter, I was watching wrestling, and The Rock was making one of his occasional appearances on the WWE, and I said, "Oh, The Rock's on," and she goes, "You mean the actor, Dwayne Johnson?"
Going down, yeah.
Yeah, she knew him as the actor, not as a wrestler, so she.
Right.
So I thought that was funny, Yeah, he was a wrestler before he.
That's that's the generation, man. That's what it's the generation gap. So.
So, how was it when you started wrestling? Because you were what, a stand-up comedian?
No. I was. I got to tell this story. I'll tell you the brief version of it. I was actually headed to the Punchline to do stand-up comedy because I always wanted to be a stand-up comic. And at the time, man, I was working out with guys like Diamond Dallas Page at the gym, High Voltage, Horseshoe was at the gym, some of the Flock. And I remember like DDP's like, you don't want to be a stand-up comic, you want to be a pro wrestler. And I'm like, yeah, I want to be a pro wrestler. And freaking 6 months later, man, I'm at the power plant, or a year later, I got a contract. I go try out at the power plant, and, a year later, I'm a pro wrestler. So I didn't really get into the stand-up part of my life until I got out of pro wrestling, man. But it was like 1998, I just said, the heck with it, man. I went and tried out at the power plant, and, one of about 50-something guys that made it through the one of 3 guys out of 50 that made it through the tryout.
And how tough was that? Because I heard that Dwayne, I heard Sarge there was really tough.
Oh, heck yeah, man. I mean, Sarge was, but at the time, down there you had Sarge, you had Pistol Pez Watley, Mike Winter was there, and then the infamous Hardbody Harrison. I don't know if you guys know that guy or not, but
yeah,
Hardbody was there. And then Jody Hamilton was running that one at the time. And then that was before Paul Orndorff came in and took over. So, but it was back in '99. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. I didn't want to cut you off. Where did the name? Now here we go. Where did the name Above Average come from?
Okay, so this is probably quite an interesting story too. So I used to bounce. I was a bouncer at a place called Moondogs down near. Down there, we used to be the Peachtree Tavern, hole in the wall right there on the Peachtree. And Martin Jindrak used to live with this kid, or knew this kid, was a huge wrestling fan. And this was like right around the time I got my contract with WCW. I hadn't gotten it yet, but this kid shows up at the bar one night. I'm out, checking IDs or whatever, and he's got this drawing, man. Like, he's got all this drawing. He's been sitting there drawing, and he's like, "Hey, man, I got this great gimmick for you. You're the above average Mike Sanders, and I'm, you're not so bad looking. You're okay." Blah, blah. I'm like to, you're an idiot, man. Like, he had literally had the whole gimmick laid out in about 6 pages. I'm like, you're stupid. So,
yeah.
Fast forward, I'm sitting there with Vince Russo, and I think Disco was there, and they're like, what do you want to do? I said, I don't know, man. I said, this kid, man, this kid's like, he's like, you're the above average Mike Sanders. And Disco goes, no, I can see that, man. I mean, you're the number one guy on the second string roster. You know what I'm saying? Like, I'm the number one guy on the second. I'm the number one guy on the B roster. I'm like, if you're looking for a solid C or a solid B, like, I'm your guy. It's like the above average Mike Sanders, the not so bad looking guy. I mean, he's okay. He'll do. And I was like, oh my God. So then, Mike Tenay started calling me the above average, and then that kind of went over. So anyway, that kid's name was Chris Long, right? Mm-hmm. So I don't know if you guys remember or not, but
Solid, right? Was that Solid?
Solid. Okay, remember he got killed because he was a bouncer at a strip club. Do you guys remember that story several years, like 5 years ago, maybe?
Yeah, well, I kind of remember it.
He was he wound up being a bouncer at Shooter's Alley or something like that, and him and another guy roughed up some patrons. So when they left, patrons came back and they shot him. Mm-hmm. And he had kind of gotten into the wrestling biz a little bit too, but that's kind of how that whole above average Mike Sanders thing came about, man.
Mm.
Wow, that's an interesting story.
So, how did you get into acting? I mean,
well, I'll tell you, man. Like when I got done with wrestling, and I say done with wrestling, like done with the WWE and TNA, I went on the road doing some stand-up comedy, and based off my wrestling career, a lot of club promoters, booked me in. But the world of stand-up comedy to me was a lot like the world of professional wrestling, man. It was like, Wednesday night, Thursday night, 2 show Friday, 2 show Saturday, 1 show Sunday. It was like I was always gone, and it just really wasn't, and during that time I started doing some corporate gigs, right? And I'd make more on a corporate gig, like an MC or a host or opening a corporate show, and one night, and I'd make all freaking month doing comedy. It was crazy. I was like, oh, this is what I need to be doing, So, and then back in like 2008, this guy in Atlanta was like, why don't you let me hook you up with my agent? And I got hooked up with an agency here and back in 2008, and was doing a little bit of, Atlanta wasn't really blowing wide open yet. There was still a few things going on. I was still trying to learn my craft a little bit. But in 2009, there's this lady that started her own agency and asked me would I come be a part of it. And I was like, yeah, it was like 2009, 2010. And as soon as that happened, man, I booked Army Wise. It was like my first show. So just transitioning, sort of taking some few acting classes here and there. And but it was probably around 2008 or 2009 that, because I was still doing some stand-up. I was doing some production work too. And I still do a lot of the corporate hosting, corporate MC gigs. I actually have a small company here in Atlanta too, so does a lot of event stuff.
Wow. So, I want to let the fans know if you want to call in and talk to Mike Sanders, you can call in at 773-897-6289 and press 1, and we'll get you on the phone to speak to Mike. What was it like for you being a part of the Natural Born Thrillers and WCW?
I'm going to tell you, man, I always I tell people all the time when they say, what do you miss about professional wrestling? And to me, I mean, it wasn't the pop of the crowd. It was the camaraderie that I had with these guys like the Mark Jindrak's and Sean O'Hare's and, the Plumbos and traveling on the road, the stories that you generate, through all of that. But literally, man, it was just, I enjoyed being with these guys because we all kind of came up kind of the same way. You know, I don't think there was one guy in our group, and that when I say pay your dues, I mean pay your dues like a Jerry Lynn or a Sabu or a Tommy Dreamer that, you know, spent hours and hours on the road traveling from town to town to make it. I mean, we came from the power plants. We did some few little shows, and then we went to the dance, man. And these guys kind of came through the same way I did. But most of these guys, like your Jendrax, your O'Hares, they're all like 6'5", 6'6", you know, just jacked up guys. And but my time with them, man, and that's the sad part about professional wrestling. Sometimes, I guess, you know, you think about. I mean, every now and then, like the guy I talk to most often, he wasn't even a natural born thriller, but the guy that I talk to a lot, man, all the time, I talk to him once, twice, maybe a week, is Alan Funk, which is, you know, his name was Kwee in WCW, Alan Funk. And, but like, you know, I was out in L.A. about 5 years ago in L.A., saw Chuck, you know, went to his band. He came to Atlanta. So I saw Reno. I don't ever see Stage Egg, and I mean, Jendrax is down in Mexico, and, you know, and O'Hare's dead. So, but, you know, being with those guys, man, and WCW was just, it was fun, man. I mean, we were just probably too much of a clown, so.
Well, go ahead, Harold. Go ahead.
Oh, okay. Oh, I'm sorry. Well, me and Brian are not in the same place, so that's why we may sometimes, you know, run into each other because we don't know, you know, who's done or not. But anyway, I was watching when I was watching the WWE, and I saw what's his name, Dean Ambrose. Yeah, you know, and I was like thinking, who does he remind me of? You know, something like that. Then when Brian said we were going to have you, Mike Sanders, on the show, I'm like, it kind of reminded me of you.
Yeah, I mean, you know, Dean Ambrose, I mean, you know, what a great gimmick, you know, and that guy came through, like, you know, I don't know that I ever met him, but I was up in Ohio when Les Thatcher and, you know, Cody Hawk had Heartland Wrestling, when they was kind of like the developmental, part of the developmental for WWE, and because they also had Ohio Valley down there. But, you know, he, in my opinion, like, he reminds me of, like, the Kidman that got over. Like, you know, the blue jeans, the white beater tank top. He reminds me of like Kidman, not looking like Kidman, but what he wears and everything. But he's like that Kidman that got over. You know, I mean, the guy's phenomenal, man. I mean, he's you know, there's a few guys that when you come across them, they just have that factor, man. That guy's got the factor. You know, he can talk with anybody. But, you know, then again, it's, you know, he's not a big jacked up dude. Neither was I. So.
Right. I think that's why he kind of reminded me of you, because, you know, you made the most of what you had, you know, so.
Right. Absolutely.
One thing that I was going to make mention of is there's a lot of people in professional wrestling that I think you know, are awesome on the mic, from Roddy Piper to the late great Dusty Rhodes, of course, to Ric Flair, to Jeff Jarrett, and then I think of you, because you always when you were in WCW, I watched you on the mic, and you know, when you would, you know, start talking on the mic, it's like you always knew exactly what to say, and you always knew how to get over with the crowd, and you know, how to get the crowd's attention, whether it was getting heat or getting a baby face or whatever. I mean, it's like you always knew exactly what to do with the crowd.
Well, I'm going to tell you, you know, Sting and I had this conversation, and, you know, I'm going to be honest, this is the one thing I tell people, like, my ability to grab a microphone and step in front of people, and it doesn't matter whether it's 8 people or 8,000 people. It's just a gift. Like, I have, and maybe it's just that gift of no fear of failing. But you know, Sting was telling me one time in Australia that guys work their whole life to be able to walk out there and do what I do. And you know, the only time I ever got a little nervous when I grabbed the microphone is like when you do stand-up comedy. And to be honest with you, like I really wasn't that nervous, but it's different. Like in professional wrestling, people know you're either the good guy or you're the bad guy. So it's a little easier to walk out there as the bad guy and just kind of know how I'm going to get this heat or, you know, mess with the crowd or whatever. But when you're just sort of doing stand-up, man, you walk out there, like if you don't get laughs, you got to get, and to be honest with you, like I also am a firm believer, like when I do stand-up, I think if you bring enough energy to anything, people will pay attention to you. So when I step on a stage or a comedy stage, I generally step out in fifth gear, or when I grab a microphone in the world of professional wrestling, I'm kind of in overdrive a little bit. But I don't have a fear. I mean, and I'll be honest with you guys, like I've probably never capitalized on it. It's just a gift, man. Like I could grab a microphone right now, walk over to my next door neighbor's house, and just put on a comedy show and not worry about feeling like an idiot. I just, and
that's awesome.
You got to be able to walk out there and not worry about feeling like an idiot. That's why I'll be honest with you. I said this before. Professional wrestling, the microphone part of it never really challenged me. Like when Ric Flair and I were going to go toe to toe, Rick was like, I don't care what you say, just don't call me old. So like don't say old man, or come up with a creative way. And that's when I'm like the guy that said Scott Steiner's got more freaks than you've ever had in your 75-year career. I called him old in a creative way.
Right.
But I'll tell you something else. I'll tell you something else too. Like the most fun I ever had, and actually I see him quite a bit. I'll see him in the gym all the time. Is when I got a chance to go toe to toe with the Cat, Ernest Miller. That dude will bring you to a different level because he will eat you up on the mic if you're not careful. But I could go toe to toe with him. So my biggest disappointment was never my biggest disappointment was never being able to go toe to toe with somebody like The Rock. And to be honest with you, I really think I could have held my own.
Wow.
So.
When you do your comedy, where do you get your material from? Do you just take it from real life, or how do you go about doing that?
There's a guy that just called me the other day and said he was asking me about comedy. So so in the world of professional wrestling, right? Becoming an extension of who you really are. Like if I go out, chances are, like when you meet Stone Cold Steve Austin, you're meeting Stone Cold Steve Austin is an extension of who he really is. DDP's an extension. They're just that larger than life character. So, and same thing with comedy. So when I write comedy, right, like I'll give you an example. So I do a joke. That's not dirty, so I can tell you. So I do a joke about, have you ever been laying in bed at night and you see something on TV that reminds you of your sex life? And I would say, oh yeah. So last night I'm watching TV and bull riding's on, and I'm like, man, that's me always on something big trying to hold out for about 8 seconds. So honestly, because I used to, I'd go out with heavy chicks, man. So this is an extension of who I am, my mentality. I talk about my kids, but I would always bring it around, man. Like I would talk about real life things that kind of happen, but at the end, the punchline is probably really larger than life of really what happened. But when I'm talking about me, or I'm talking about my kids, or I'm doing a promo, and I'm coming, and people can relate to you, they'll listen to you. Like if I'm Mike Sanders and I'm trying to do a comedy routine and I'm trying to be King Kong, nobody's going to believe it. But when you can talk about who you are, make fun of who you are, and bring who you are into a larger than life experience, people will listen to you all day long. They'll go, okay, he probably did do that, or he probably has been down that road, or like when I took a cruise, I took a cruise, and I saw this older lady. Now I joke about it. She wasn't 68 years old, but I mean she was an older lady on the topless deck, and she had her top hanging off, and I'm like, so I wrote about a 68-year-old lady with her top off, wearing a thong, and so it's I basically I write about my life experiences and things that's happened to me, but it always gets a little larger than life at the end.
Right.
When did you know that you were going to become the WCW commissioner? I mean, how did that come about?
Oh man, I don't think anybody's ever threw that one out at me. We were they were putting me in a program with the Cat, and I think Vince Russo came up with making me the WCW commissioner before Halloween Havoc, because that's when it happened. It was kind of a shock to me, man. I was like, "What?" They're like, "Yeah, you're gonna be WCW commissioner." And I'm gonna be honest with you, man. Like, I mean, my whole wrestling career, I always had heat with people just because. I guess maybe people thought things were given to me or whatever, but and I didn't. Like I said, I never was on that path to being on the road 10 years before I got a break. So it was Vince Russo's idea. Vince Russo and probably Ed Ferrara and the other cat, Banks or whatever, Bill Banks. So.
Okay.
You were on one of my favorite shows, Burn Notice, right? Did they film that in Miami? Did you get to go to Miami and film?
Oh yeah, man, that was that's probably one of the best things. This is one of the best gigs I've had because one, it became reoccurring, so we shot for 2 episodes, and I got to work with Sharon Gless, which is like the mom, Mrs. Weston, the Cagney and Lacey lady,
Right.
And she was just so freaking cool, like. So I and actually I wound up getting on the show 2 out of the last 3 episodes before the show even, because it went off the air after that. And for 2 years, like, I tried to get past the casting director down there, Lori Wyman. Like, I was always trying to get past the casting director. It was just like, I was always fighting a losing battle, man. Like, and so finally, I had these 2 auditions that came in, and I kind of just said, the heck with it. Sent the audition in, and wound up booking the role, and that was kind of cool, man. It was cool shooting down there in Miami because we shot on a sound stage one time, and then we actually on my episode when they blow the house up or whatever. We actually I watched them. It was pretty cool. We were on a street, and it was a house kind of mocked up that they rented out that looked like, the soundstage house. And it was kind of, they literally, it was pretty cool how they did it. I mean, they didn't blow the whole house up, but it was pretty cool how they did it. So.
But that's where I was at in Miami, so.
Oh, you're from Miami?
Yeah, well, originally, yeah. That's where I was just at when I was on vacation, so.
Oh, yeah, well, this thing was filmed down, I think it's filmed down like in Coconut Grove or something like that.
Okay. Yeah, I know where
it was cool, man. And my buddy, I got friends down there too. So like, it was always cool to go down there, and it was cool to see those guys and just some old wrestling friends. So.
Let me ask you a quick question. What do you think about like Atlanta is becoming? You're probably pretty happy about it, becoming a filming, destination for companies like Pinewood Studios and Fayetteville and all that. What are your thoughts on that?
Well, I'm going to be honest, man. Like, so I moved. So 3 years ago, my agent said, "Hey, why don't you go out to L.A. during pilot season?" Okay.
Mm-hmm.
So I went out to L.A. for like 4 or 5 months, 4 months maybe, for pilot season, and really didn't do a whole lot. And then I came back here, man, and I started booking. Like, I booked The Devil's Knot, I booked Homeland, I booked a bunch of shows. Now, it's weird because I've done, given my IMDb, I've done pretty good, but right now I mean, this year I've had more auditions than I have had in like crazy. But I've only booked I've only booked like one or two things. Like I just booked that I booked that role on that new movie, The Rings. The Rings, the trilogy with the girl Samara that comes out of the well.
Okay, I'm not familiar with that, but okay.
No, there's a movie come out called The Rings years ago, and it's a scary movie about this little girl named Samara. I mean, it did like $350 million. Like, it's ridiculous. So anyway, I'm shooting on the trilogy of that. I play a airline captain. I just shot that last month, maybe. What are we in June? Maybe May. But I have auditioned, man, like crazy. Just haven't really, just this year has kind of been a weird year for me. So, but I'm excited. Man. I think it's going to be here to stay for a while. I'm gonna be honest with you. There's a lot of powerful people invested in, from the Truitt family to Pinewood Studios. I think it's going to be this is going to be it's going to be here for a while.
Okay, well, good.
This is actually a two-part question, and this is the last wrestling-related question I have for you, and then I'm going to ask you about some of the TV series you do. But what was it? The first part of this question is, what was it like for you working for WWE? And the second part is, what was it like for you working for Vince Russo in TNA and Ring of Glory?
Well, WWE was just kind of a weird time because once my contract got bought out, I got sent up to Heartland Wrestling for like a year and a half, right? And so my time at WWE was just kind of like, it was just a weird time. I was glad I was there. It was probably like a year and a half or something. It was. But I was once again I was up in with some guys I like hanging out with. I was in Heartland Wrestling. Les Thatcher, super cool. Nigel McGuinness, Cody Hawk. You had the Haas brothers up there, and actually Umaga was there. So it was a really it was good. It was cool. Now as far as working for Vince Russo, I mean I have nothing bad to say about that guy because. Vince, kind of helped me become who I was in that industry, and it was. I have nothing bad. I mean, Vince has always kind of been like, hey, let's try to do this or let's do that, and I think when I was in TNA, and which was a very short-lived period too. I wasn't really there that long, but. And even though he was Jeff Jarrett's, buddy or whatever at the time, there was just always this. Jeff Jarrett always had kind of a little bit of a dissension for me. Like, I mean, he wasn't really like. Jeff didn't really like me, but well, that being said, and then what was it, Ring of Glory? Like, I mean, and listen, I enjoyed TNA too because it was kind of bare bones. It was kind of raw, It was like. So, let me think here. Ring of Glory. I don't know that, I gotta watch how I say this. I don't know that Christianity and wrestling can exist with together in such a creative way. I mean, I don't know if there's any Christian wrestling shows out there. Probably because wrestling has just been. I don't know how to say it, man. Like, I don't know how to say it. Ring of Glory was a cool concept. Here's the problem. Ring of Glory was a cool concept, but you really so in order to bring in a top guy, because you're trying to you still got to put butts in the seat, so you've got to build some type of promotion. You know what I'm saying? Like, so most of the guys that Vince would bring in for Ring of Glory that had names, would be out back getting high during the event, and you're trying to
oh my
Christian
goodness.
wrestling. I mean,
yeah.
And I'm just, my point is that the guys in this industry and in this business and the way this business is throughout, okay, so even if you're not a guy that gets high or whatever, but most of the time you've got somebody that's just, cussing all the time and, so to put on, he put on a pretty good show, but, the first time we did the show, when they tore the pulpit of a church out and put a ring up, and it was like, okay, like here was a couple of things. Okay, we're doing this show inside the church, so everybody has to wear a shirt, and it's like, so now you're putting restrictions and rules and regulations on everybody to put a wrestling show on. And, let's face it, man, wrestling is sports entertainment, and I think it's hard to confine it in the realm of Christianity.
To marry the two, then, right?
Yeah, to marry.
Yeah.
Come on. You're gonna have. What are you gonna have? Like nuns for knockouts? I don't. It's weird.
Right.
So
all right.
But the concept Ring of Glory is great. If Vince could have got it as a motivational ploy into maybe, I don't know, if it was done different, who knows?
Right.
I see that we've got about 3 more minutes left, and the last question I wanted to ask you on my part before time runs out, did you have the opportunity to meet Tika Sumpter, who used to play Layla on One Life to Live? She was the main star of the Have and Have-Nots.
She's the black chick?
Yes.
Listen, when I was there, I worked with everybody was on set. I was on the very first season. Everybody was on set with, and so I probably
She played the character of Candace Young.
Oh yeah. I briefly met her, but it wasn't like I didn't have a major conversation or anything like that. But I did meet her, yeah.
Oh, okay. Okay.
But have not. It was a cool show though. I enjoyed working on it. Good cast, good crew. So.
Harold, you got another question? We got about 2 minutes left.
No, I just wanted to give him a chance to plug anything he's got coming up, so that
Yeah, if you want to plug anything that you got coming up, that would be great.
I got the movie The Rings is going to be coming out probably in November. To play airline captain in that. Don't have a lot going on, man. I do a lot of corporate stuff coming up. I have a company in Atlanta called The Party Paramedic. I do a lot of corporate, party events and things like that. But just focusing on me, man. Auditioning like crazy and making it happen. So,
Okay, well, thank you so much for being on the show today, Mike, and we hope you'll come back again in the future.
Guys, I really appreciate you guys having me on, man. You guys take care anytime, man. Give me a shout. I'll come on and just, chat it up with you guys for sure.
All right,
okay.
And come see us at Wrestle America when you get a chance.
All right, man. We'll see you guys.
Okay,
right.
Take care. Bye-bye.
Bye.
Well, ladies and gentlemen, that was Mike Sanders, former WCW wrestler and actor, and tomorrow on the show, we will have somebody from Trans-South Wrestling. We don't know a time yet or anything. We're still waiting on that. And coming up this coming Thursday, 5 p.m. Eastern Standard Time, the president of the National Wrestling Alliance, Mr. Bruce Thorpe, will be here live on the Wrestling Lounge. So be sure and tune into that. And for me and Harold, we hope you have a good day. We'll see you next time.
So long, everybody. Goodbye.